Hi everyone, thank you for coming to my Vulnerably Badass YouTube channel. Last time I talked about COVID testing in Korea, but today I'm in my new room, new office in Washington DC. So I want to talk about last days in Korea. So the last few days in Korea was very hectic, but I managed to walk at least 10,000 steps every day. And I was really lucky because almost every day, I walked with my friend Mariko and Tyler's special education teacher from his middle school, and he was alive. And sometimes we walked together, three of us. And it was really nice. We walked together and we get some coffee and bread, and we talked a lot about different topics. And one of the questions Tyler's teacher asked me was, okay, so how long did you live in South Korea? And it was about 6.5 years. So I say, in Japan, 7 years and a little bit in Japan, and 6 years and a half in Korea. So roughly it's about 7 years in Japan, 7 years in Korea after I came back from the States, from Illinois, back in 2017. And she asked me, so what was the best memory in South Korea? And I thought about it. To be honest, a lot of negatives came first. I know that in psychology, we have negative bias, and like biggest thing that happened was Ty's cancer, or fighting cancer, and fighting with the doctors, and then the bus drivers who refused to let my son on wheelchair, and divorce, and a lot of things. But I thought about what was the best, and I told her the best memory in South Korea was when my son Tyler got cancer free. And I still remember that we were so happy about the news, and he was happy, and he had the best smile. And after that, we started volunteering at Tyler's elementary school, bringing in books about special needs acceptance book. It talked about people having different needs, different special needs, and that doesn't mean somebody's superior or somebody's inferior, but different people have just differences, and it's really important to respect each other's differences. And so I read the book. It's more like just show the pictures and talk about the topic, but then my son comes in and share his story, why he doesn't have hair, because he's going through chemo, and how chemo works, so that he loses his hair, or how come he's on wheelchair, why he has handicap. So we were talking about this, so-called negative things or hardship. But I remember his smile, and he looked so proud to talk to in front of his classmates or younger kids. And I was so proud of him. It made me really happy and proud to see him being happy and proud of himself. So I told my Thai's middle school teacher that the best memory that I had was to be able to see how proud and happy he was after he got cancer free. But then I also share that it's kind of ironic, that happened because he had cancer, and because he had brain surgery, and because he lost the ability to walk and talk. If he was just, you know, what is that, like a normally abled body, then I don't know that I would have been that proud to see him talk about himself in front of a class. But I know that the hardship we had, the dip was so big, so that when we climbed up, it felt so special to me. And also because of that, the next hill that we had, or what is that, the valley we had, which was cancer coming back, and eventually Thai leaving this world, was even harder. So then when I was sharing this memory, I shared to the middle class teacher and my friend Mariko that I guess what it means, you know, the best memory of Thai being able to speak up in front of his classmates, I think that represents just the nature of life. Life is like this, you know, it's never constant, always changing, and something that seems like negative happens, so something that seems like positive looks really positive and happy, but because of that, something that seems like negative feels more negative to you, but because of that, you know, on and on, and life goes on. So it was the best and happiest moment, but at the same time, the whole incident teaches me, or Thai's whole life, or my life also, or just life in general, teaches me that everything changes. And it's normal to go up and down. And yeah, and Thai passed and left this world, but that's not anything special. It happens to us anyway, to everyone. And it's just, we feel it's something special because he was so young, but it's just the difference of when it happens. And you know, it might happen to me tomorrow, or to you a year later. We never know. So yeah, what happened to Thai seems very special and sad, but it's life. It's normal. Equally happens to everyone. So I don't know what I wanted to say, and back then too, I didn't know how to express, but I guess by learning about this up and down of life, I learned the kind of peace of life. And last year, the keyword for me was resilience, and I think that's what it is in a nutshell. Just knowing that life is all about up and down. If you really know your body, mind, and head, understand it's all about up and down, then ultimately you become really peaceful. So yeah, that was the biggest lesson. So thinking about the best moment in my 7 years in Korea taught me about the nature of life. So yeah, that's why it's the best memory, I think. And then I thought about the mere fact that I had these two people with me, so that I was able to share what I thought. That's so special. And why we were so connected? Because we walked 10,000 steps, or 10K, 10 kilometer together almost every day. Early in the morning, you know, like 7 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning, 2 hours together. And the temperature in South Korea was like, what, minus 14 or something. That's like Fahrenheit 8 or something. It's super cold. And who would walk with you in such a cold weather and so early in the morning, you know? Like the Tyler's middle school teacher was like, oh yeah, Tomomi-san, I want to walk walk with you, I want to join you tomorrow. And I said, well, I plan to walk 10 kilometers from 7 in the morning tomorrow. Will you join me? And she said, sure. And she came, and it was minus 14 Celsius, 8 Fahrenheit. But she was so happy, and we saw the sunrise together, and we enjoyed the beautiful nature and snow. We walked in the snow, and that was simple joy for me. Like, it's so thankful, I'm so thankful that I have someone who's willing to walk 10 kilometers in such a cold weather in the snow, wearing snow boots. And I have two people, Mariko and the teacher. So that little talk we had after the walk in a car, drinking coffee and eating bread together, what was the best memory in Korea, taught me three important things. One, best memory was when Tyler became cancer-free, and he was proud of himself and sharing his own story. And second, that taught me about the nature of life. And the third, the fact that we were talking about that with these two people who were willing to share this simple activity with me was so special. So spending the last few days with Mariko and Thai's middle school teacher by walking in the snow together was such a beautiful memory, and I'm really, really thankful. Yeah, that conversation kind of summarized my 7 years in Korea. So my question to you, since I was talking about the past 7 years, it can be 7 years, or it can be for your 5 years or 10 years, whatever your chapter in life. What was the best memory for you? I look forward to hearing your story. Thank you so much for watching my YouTube channel. See you next time.